G'day, Bomber fans. I know that the Bombers are flying right now. We are undefeated to start 2025. Our opening round game that was scheduled to be played we didn't lose that, and that was up on the Gold Coast, so that's impressive. So things are looking great for Essendon, but I am going to talk trade period. I know it is March, before our season's, I guess, officially kicked off. But there is a bit going on. I was always planning to do trade rumour videos once a month, and I figured I would start early in March because we've actually got some news regarding players that we have and want. We have our CEO actually coming out and literally saying we're already working the phones and attempting to seduce 3 to 4 different players. So there is actually work being put into the trade period already, which is standard but still promising. And it's even more promising, I guess, given what we have at our disposal. We've got 4 early draft picks, we've got so much money, and we're almost definitely going to have some available list spots. So let's talk trade. Alright, starting with Sam Draper, and he is obviously our main free agent. He's the only restricted free agent we have for season 2025, which of course puts him in trade discussions. Even last year he was being talked about a lot. Cal Toomey broke the news that the Adelaide Crows were really keen on him, and that they were going to come hard for him when he's out of contract, which of course is because of his links to South Australia. And the news here since then has mostly been around when will this play out. The narrative surrounding this one was mainly a wait and see kind of vibe, both from the club and Draper. Draper was going to wait and see how he went with the club and Brian. Essendon would wait and see how worth it spending bucks on Draper was. But recent news was pretty surprising. John Rowell, I think it was, he came out during our practice game and said that Draper was actually set to stay at Essendon. Not that it's happening anytime soon, but he said that the club and Draper would wait a bit into actually making it official, which of course was a no-brainer with a decision like this. You don't want to rush anything. But from the looks of things, Draper wants to stay at Essendon. Essendon want Draper to stay. Word is it could be a 6-year deal, which would definitely frustrate a few of you. That's just unfortunately the way footy is right now. Long-term contracts, which players don't always deserve. It happens every week pretty much. In an ideal world, we sign Drapes up short-term, a few years, and reassess from there, especially because he's had some injuries. 6 years feels a little bit steep for me. It'll definitely feel a little bit steep for you guys. Cue the angry comments. But yeah, I mean, I'd much rather news that a player wants to stay than news of a player wanting to leave, especially an interstate player. So it's good that we're actually retaining players, unlike what happened in 2020. I guess Scott is building a nice culture. But yeah, Draper's been in Melbourne for a while now. He's got a Melbourne-based partner, so I guess she's the real legend in this story. Good on you. And Ralph also talked about Draper being keen on forming a partnership with Nick Bryan, so that's even cooler. But yeah, nothing confirmed yet. I think we're going to have to wait quite a while for that, a few months maybe. But the early signs are good. Essendon want to keep Draper, and Draper wants to stay. Harley Reid. Yep, so there's a fair bit of chat still around him, and this is a very important year for Harley Reid and the Eagles, because he's not out of contract, he's out of contract next year, but the Eagles will be attempting to extend that contract this season, before he is out of contract and before things really get serious. And if they get the indication that he doesn't want to extend that contract, there is every chance they listen to offers from other clubs early. Tasmania are coming in soon. The Eagles would hate for Reid to just walk to the draft next year, which is possible, when they could get a few higher draft picks for him this year. And of course, they've got things to work out with other players potentially coming in. Chad Warner. There is a genuine possibility that the Eagles understand that there is no keeping him and that they just trade him while they can get a genuine heap for him. The question is, how much do the Eagles want for Harley Reid? You would suspect it at the very least to be 2 first-round draft picks. I'd say maybe more. This is a generational talent. I think Reid is definitely available this year and next, but for the right price. And the right price is probably not the right price. It's a bit more than the right price. Is it worth throwing everything away for Harley Reid? I don't know. There is also trading into the future, multiple years, so that's going to really make things a bit interesting. So there are definitely ways for clubs to get it done, and there are genuine links to Reid with Essendon. Since he was drafted to the Eagles, journos have been linking Reid to Essendon non-stop. But there are other clubs starting to get keen too, other Victorian clubs, so there is definitely a lot on this one. Plenty left to play out. Might not happen this year, and if it does, it will be very expensive. Getting Reid isn't simple. you would definitely have to overpay it for him, but we could be right in the mix for him. All right, Matt Rowell. We are keen on Matt Rowell. He is out of contract, so another one that would require draft picks because he's not a free agent. I think it would be just about impossible to get both Reid and Rowell this year, but the fact he's out of contract decreases his value for the Suns. He's slightly easier to get with the threat of walking to the draft, like we saw with Bailey Smith. So we've already met with Rowell. We met with him last year, but we aren't the only club to do that. Collingwood, the Bulldogs, I think Geelong as well. They've all met with or expressed interest in Rowell. There are clearly a bunch of Victorian clubs keen on him, so we've got to get in line a little bit. But yeah, he's a great age. He's a really good player, a contested ball who could really improve our midfield. There's a clear reason why we're keen. And if we have already met with Rowell, someone who was technically contracted when we met with him, that shows that we could genuinely go pretty hard to get him. But again, he's at another club right now. He's actually quite happy at Gold Coast. In fact, recently he was asked where his future was, and he quite clearly said he likes it at the Suns. So yes, it would be cool to have him, and we have the facilities to get a deal done, 100%. We're one of the best equipped in the competition to get a deal done. We've got money, we've got draft picks, spots on the list, but the Suns have the upper hand because they actually have the player, and it does seem like he wants to stay. He could be signed up at some point during the year, who knows? They'll be desperately trying to keep him on the list. Luke Davies-Uniacke is another free agent, so he's another one that we are linked with as well, but of course there are other clubs around too, especially because he's a free agent, most notably St Kilda. The word is they're offering LDU a $9 million deal. I doubt we're going to go that high for him. So if this comes down to money, we're probably outbidded. We've got money, but nothing so far has suggested that Rose is going to spend that much on one individual. And LDU's great, but he isn't best earning in the league great. I think if we're spending that money, it's on someone like Harley Reid. North don't know if he's going to stay or not, but Clarkson himself came out and said that they don't know if he's going to stay. But there is a bit of a belief that he might sign on at North Melbourne. This one's going to play out during the season. If North are up and about, LDU will be more inclined to stay. If they're down the bottom again, he could easily be convinced to join another club. St Kilda and Essendon, the likely candidates, just because we are both absolutely loaded. We have money to burn. So yeah, watch this space with LDU, but I think Rowell is a more likely option. Okay, and lumping in a few at once here, Port Adelaide. So there's been a bit of talk with some of their Victorian players. They're obviously an SA-based club, but they have plenty of Vic players there. We got one recently in Dersma. But there are a few being talked about early, and all really good players. So Zach Butters is being labelled as a potential target for teams, which we should take with a grain of salt. I'm just going to move on, to be honest. Miles Bergman, this is a guy who's been linked with a move away a few times now. Linked with St Kilda a lot. I think we were actually involved once, maybe. Every year he's linked with a move away. But there are some saying, again, that he is a guaranteed goner. I don't remember who, but someone definitely did say it. Probably some gutter journo, but it was said nevertheless. I think we should still keep an eye on that because there have been quite a few times where Miles Bergman has either sought to move away or has been in talks for one. And the big one for me, and I guess link this one with Essendon, or don't do it yet, but have it in the back of your mind, Kane Farrell. So he's another Victorian. He's a restricted free agent for the first time in his career, and of course with that comes trade talks. There was recently a bit of a spotlight put on him in regards to Victorian teams. So there are some big names at Port attracting attention. Kane Farrell, not the biggest of the lot, but he's a very good halfback flanker, which is definitely something we could be interested in. We've been trying to build that position for a few years now with Nick Martin, with Dylan Shield. I think with Shield getting older, there's every chance we go for someone who's free in Farrell and try and bring him in, especially with a change in coach at Port Adelaide as well. This could definitely come with a bit of a clean out of sorts, the succession plan. So keep an eye on all three of these Port Adelaide players this year, but most specifically Kane Farrell. This will be the last time I talk about them as a team. Maybe soon there's going to be links to specific players. As I said earlier, we're already having a look at 3 to 4 players according to our CEO, so I figured I'd talk about the team with the most players being targeted. Okay, and the 2025 draft, this is going to be something that's been talked about a lot. There's a lot of chatter about this. People are saying it's completely butchered by academy kids and compromised, and really that comes from the fact that NGA rules have loosened. We can't really complain because we got Kako from that. You've now got clubs trying to get access to players left, right and centre. Hawthorn did so and failed with Ollie Greaves. It's bound to happen more as the year goes on. But yeah, there are quite a few players in this upcoming draft already linked to other teams, which means two things. One, picks lower down the order are worth less to teams not matching bids, just because players in the lower stages of the draft will not be as good as in recent years, because a fair amount of the players drafted will be linked to other clubs before that. But it does mean that lower picks will be worth heaps to teams looking to match bids, specifically second round picks, because the way the rules have changed means second round picks are huge for matching bids now. You can't just hoard picks in the 50s and get a top 5 talent anymore. Clubs will be asked to pay a lot more to get the players they want, so teams like Gold Coast, who's going to need second round picks, could come to us for them, meaning they might be willing to part ways with something a bit juicy. I honestly think Essendon will have both of those second round picks on the table for other teams to access. That way we could get maybe even an extra first in the process, or some more firepower for next year's draft. This could also be a very good way for us to get big fish in the trade period, end it with 3 first round picks, and I'm sure West Coast would love that. I think the way Rosa drafted last year ensures that we don't have to hit the draft heavily to be successful in the future. Even if we take a couple of high-rated players, maybe keep 1 first-round pick or a third-round pick, we're still a very young and up-and-coming team regardless. It means we can hit the draft and utilise the trade period. And I should also say, the early stages of the draft don't appear to be compromised by the academy picks at the time of filming. Obviously, the whole year is left to pan out, but there are 15 to 20 potential first-round draftees that are free real estate. So even if we were to hold off on our first round picks, we would still have access to some really good players. Honestly, anyone who criticises what we did last year with pick 9 is starting to look silly. We're in a brilliant position to build on our list, and I'm honestly excited to see what we do. I just want to fast forward to the trade period and the draft to see what we do with our strong position. I think we're going to be one of the most talked about teams this off-season, and that's great for a young club. I think this is where we start to really improve our list. Alright, well that is that. Quick little way too early trade rumour video. I'm going to do these once a month until the end of the year, or at least once a month. I'll also post some updates when they occur as well, because I just love talking trades. But yeah, cheers for watching. Like if you enjoyed, subscribers if you're new, and as always, go Bombers.